Well, welcome back my gardening friends to the August bank holiday tour of plot 1. This is the fruit garden, and it's getting a little bit cluttered now with little finds. I found these two pieces of wood in a lay-by. It looks like they're off the back of a lorry that used to carry some quite heavy items. Two of them were okay, the others were rotten. The sun is very bright, and I'm going to get the best angles I can. The sunflowers now are just going off a little bit, and now it's the time of the autumn fruiting raspberries to come to their own, and these are doing extremely well. Now, I did cut some of these back, excuse me, and some of them we left. Remember, we left some of these and didn't cut them back to see what happens, and the fruit was awful, absolutely awful, so I won't be doing that again on those. Now, these 4 lots here we didn't do a lot with. You can see the old brown wood as well as the new. Now, most of them still, and they're about 8 foot high, they're still not doing nothing. Yet, from the same bush, some of them are. But then again, that may be just one that's not quite where it's supposed to be. So I don't really know whether these are autumn or summer at the moment. I will have to mark that one and any others that do give me fruit. But moving on to the blackberries, again, they're coming a lot better than I thought. Excuse me. And I'll definitely train these back now. Wow, that one was hiding. Whoops, I can see it, you can't. I might save that one for Mrs. King. Yes, I will. And I've still got these strawberries to sort out. And I've got to collect some runners for one of my subscribers, Linda Penny, and get those sent off up to Scotland for her to reuse, as I'm not saving any this year. Some of you may have seen this drum before. I've now brought it up the allotment. Now, I can get hold of this strapping. Now, it's single use, very similar to the 1-ton bags. Now, before, when they first started using these 1-ton bags, it got a deposit on them and you sent them back. Unfortunately, one broke and somebody died. So now they're single use, and you're not allowed to reuse them for any heavy weights. But what I use those for is for the leaves. But these straps, some of them, they've got the label on for the safe tonnages, etc. I'm just trying to think how I could use those on my allotment. So have a little think, guys, and put a comment in the below. I've got myself another blue barrel. I'm absolutely sure I should be able to get 3 heavy sticks of rhubarb out that for the Malvern show. And we've come across some more spent compost. Again, it's cocoa coir. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there was 1 that I had to empty out on this pile, and another 3 over there. 30 odd litre bags, so let's say 20 litres in each one. All makes a difference. And most of you have seen this before, but if you're new to my channel, this is all spent compost that I find on the side of the road. I thought one of these bags was open, but some is better than others. I got these pegs, they were single use, so I had those. This is some of the wood chips off plot 3, which you'll see in the next video. More compost. Again, a different compost. You see how the water's washed some of that away, but it makes for an excellent medium for me. And here we have another lot, again different, because it's got some perlite in. Let's keep wandering down. Some of the apples are doing okay, but they're not perfect. I've got to make a decision whether I do fruit trees again. This is the potato in a bucket of turds, so that's all horse manure nuggets, and that's dying off now, so that won't be long for a reveal. This was my giant potato experiment that didn't work, but it's flowering again. And we've even got a volunteer tomato. I'm going to leave all that there and see what happens. And these, where I had my leeks, now when I pulled the leeks out, they've got the little bulb bits on the bottom. So I think there's some bulb bits in there, so I've got to be careful when I take that compost out. These barrels have got water in, far too much water this year. So these are the Sarpos, some with potato fertiliser in, and some with just plain ordinary my homemade compost. I've got some, come on think, rhubarb leaves in there, steeping. I'm going to make a spray out of that, and this is where it was suggested that I put all the cannabis compost roots in that I get out the compost with some liquid manure to steep, and see if we can get them to rot down, because the roots don't rot down very well. These are my saved seed. I think these are the white ones. So when we actually started this allotment 3 years ago, hashtag starting a new allotment, I found 4 white seed potatoes that were kidney shaped, and now I've built my stocks up to where I can have 3, and I'm going to be revealing one of these today. Comfrey's been left to its own divine, and let it carry on, and the bees are still loving the fresh flowers, which is what it's all about. These are the poppies that the wife, well, the wife didn't find them, but the pod accidentally fell in the wife's hand. And anybody else, I've been collecting cardboard recently, and these are all my little ingredients, and there's a quick list there of my homemade liquid plant foods for those that don't know. My trommel will be used soon for the leaf mould, and the trommel build is also in my playlist. This had 20 of those 1 ton bags of leaf mould, and it's sunk down really well, and I've been adding the fish poo from at home, and I'll be getting this out. This is now nearly 3-year-old leaf mould, and the remaining of the homemade compost. This now has been in there nearly 2 years, and this is the bay that will end up going through the trommel. This is the dry leaf mould. Come on, wood chips, dry wood chips that I want to sieve to make my own compost, and I haven't been able to do much with it because I don't know whether they're in or not. Can't see, but I've had a little friend in here, and he doesn't seem to be at home. Hopefully he's gone. Got one baby, so I do battle with the mice and voles. I don't think it's a mouse, I think it's a vole, so I do battle with them in the spring, but for now they can carry on enjoying my growing space. The overwintering dahlias that were in the greenhouse grow room, they've nearly had the day now, but they've put on a nice show, and we'll probably plant those in the wildflower garden that's now dying back nicely. and dropping its seeds everywhere, so hopefully we'll get a nice display again next year. Grapevine around the arbour, I'm trying to train it so that it's inside, and I was hoping to get some grapes that I could just reach up and grab. Don't know whether they'll come to anything this time, but it looks like those are a green variety. And underneath there we've got some of the potatoes that we've removed the tops, and I can harvest those as and when I want them. The asparagus has survived the attacks from the asparagus beetle, and we've been removing grubs as we find them, and it looks like we've got plenty of foliage, and it's even forming the actual seed pods now. Pleased with that. As you can see, the grapevine is going absolutely mad, so it does need a tidy up. Just push that bottle on because there is a cane there, and open canes are very dangerous, especially when you bend down and you get one stuck in your eye. You don't get second chances with the canes, that's why we use the bottle tops. There's the money makers. These are saved seed. I'm buying new seed next year, so basically what I've been doing with the tomato seeds the last couple of years is putting them in, slicing them up, put them in the compost, put them in the polytunnel, grab a handful out the top and put them in a warm place, and they grow on, but you're not always sure of what you're going to get, so I'm starting fresh next year, other than the shop bought cherries, because these have again been really good, and they taste just like, excuse me, like what you buy from the shop. And there's absolutely loads on there, so that's something that I will continue to do. So some of the grapes are growing on the inside of the greenhouse, and some are growing on the outside, as we saw earlier, and looks like they're a later variety, which is good. And the Christmas potatoes, if you remember, I had let's have a look, 7 rocket seeds and 4 roosters. Now they are coming. There's a tomato, but looks like they're getting good growth on them now, so we may get ourselves some Christmas potatoes on Christmas Day. I bought some Gigantimo tomatoes, F1s, 3 years ago, and they're still growing. Now you ain't supposed to get they ain't supposed to grow very well, F1s, but I've proved a point there that they do. Sun's playing us up, so it is worth it. The pigeons just come to see me. And again, these are the tomatoes from the shop bought supermarket cherries on a vine. And I just can't help myself grazing while I'm up here. This grapevine on the corner's never really done very well, but it's just started to perk up now. So if you've got a grapevine that you've bought and it doesn't seem to do too well, patience. This one was in the same situation last year, and it's doing really well. Oh, and there's the cherry tomato right at the top there. These are also saved seed. They're like the tiny Tims, the trailing tomatoes. I've got one this side, and on this side of the wildflower garden. And there's the rather large apple. I presume it's a cooker, but we won't know until we try it. And the cuttings, we'll be having a little look at those later on in the autumn, and I've given up with both of the strawberry towers for now. I'm going to redo those. I'm not going to do this one, take up too much water. Sweet peas are going to seed, so they will drop on the floor and the mice will move them and plant them for me. And we've got some more cherry tomatoes here. I'll spread them around the allotment just in case we get blight, and they're certainly doing well again this year. And all the hollyhocks and all the other flowers, like we said, are shedding the seeds, so we should get something really nice next year. It's looking a bit bedraggled now, but it's still good for the wildlife, that's the main thing. And because I've got extra barrels about, I've had to put them there, just out the way. The yellow autumn gold raspberries are now coming into their own again. Now the granddaughter's gone back home. I might get a few more of these, excuse me. And I'm just waiting to see what fruits this come off. If it's the autumn gold, I'm going to move it from there right down to the end. We do like these. It's probably not that runner, but if it is, then I can get it moved. The nettle tea is still brewing. Normally I'd have this moved by now, but because I'm doing all the new raised beds, I want to use bargum. That was strong, just caught a whiff of that. I don't want to put it in with my old nettle tea and comfrey. This is the comfrey bin. Good brew going there. Just don't want to splash me, else Mrs. King will not let me come home. But until I can actually get these drained and put onto the new raised beds and then put the cardboard on top for the winter, we'll leave it there. It's nothing hurting. I've emptied this water tank out because we'd got issues with how I'd built it. It was coming away. We've had several issues, so for safety reasons, and this will end up being one of the manure runoff bins on plot 3 when I do my changes, probably in 12 months, 2 years time. So just a quick potato reveal. These are from this allotment. These are 4 seed potatoes that I found on this allotment. We had them last year. I saved 12 seeds, and so I've got 3 containers to undo. So this is a different variety. It's an unknown variety, and this is actually a volunteer tomato. So let's get these out and have a look. There we go, so that's out of those. That's a massive haul for me, especially in my homemade compost with nothing else added other than the liquid plant foods. You may notice that RoboCrop hasn't showed his face today. You'll need to see the next instalment to see why something has happened. Anyway, I need 12 seed potatoes for next year. Now Benny made a good comment about me actually washing the potatoes and then looking for the seed, and she's absolutely right. I need to dry them out properly instead of damaging the skin, so that's what I'm going to do now. So thank you for that comment. This is where we learn, guys. Right, so I'll let those on the right dry out. They'll be the seed for next year. There's a green one amongst those, so on the right I don't mind saving the green ones, ideal for seed saving. So let's get the other ones washed. So that's what we've got. Now, I've got a little bit of green on that, but other than that, that will make us 2 or 3 good meals for the coming weeks. I always wash them before I leave the plot, mainly because I don't like any of the soil to leave the allotment. But I should be drying the seed potatoes, let them dry overnight, and then I'll give them a quick brush off, and they can go with the rest in the fridge at home. And just before we go, just a bit of a mail call. William Coleman, Garden and Allotment, I think I've got that the right way around, has sent me some nice garlic cloves to try. He's in Canada, but he wants to see how they grow in the Midlands here in the UK. And also I've had some giant onion seed sent me from Phil. Phil sent me the tomatoes seeds for the Bloody Butcher. So thank you very much, Phil, for managing to get this world record seed, etc., from the giant onion. You've got a few seed, and he's shared them with me. So thank you very much. I do really appreciate everyone's support. And just to finish it off, I've just been and bought 20 UK pounds worth of decking screws ready for the raised beds, and that's for your kindness in watching my videos right from the start right to the finish. So everybody that does that, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I pump everything back into my allotment, and I'll try and let you know what I've actually bought with it. And a big thank you to the allotment holder that watched my videos and saw that I was struggling for Christmas potato seeds. If you look back, they weren't much caught, but by gum, they've really done well with those spruts. A little bit soggy, but the spruts were really good. So because we ate the seed Christmas potatoes by mistake, not saying Mrs. King was wrong, but these are doing really well now. So thank you, my friend. That was a lifesaver as well, and that's how they're doing. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, I wasn't sure whether to keep the fruit or not, but sometimes we have to be patient and not just say, oh dear, they're not doing really well. I do have one conference pear. As you can probably hear, there's bits of parties going on, and I have actually had my first plum. And as they come ready, as you'd perhaps appreciate, the wasps soon get into them. But no more bad ones, they're all still good. No, not quite ready. But other than that, I'm pleased with what we've got. Even the strawberries are confused with this wet and heat. Looks like I might get a few more strawberries. So we'll just finish off now with the raspberries. Like I say, there's not many that aren't very good. These need picking now, but obviously I've left a few so I can show you them. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now. Excuse me.